Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video. John Travolta's heartbreaking farewell. A tragic diagnosis changes everything. He was intriguing in that he not only funded significant community events but also provided assistance to those facing hardship. When John Travolta's wife Kelly got cancer, she fought it in secret for 2 years, and then she died. The 70-year-old actor is now selling their family home and giving away Kelly's things, which he says is the hardest decision of his life. "Nothing feels the same," he told his friends as he packed up 30 years of memories. John Travolta, as his fans have long known, was born on February 18, 1954, in Englewood, New Jersey. He was the youngest of 6 children and grew up in a house full of energy and creativity. His father, Salvatore Travolta, ran a tire repair business before becoming a semi-professional football player. His mother, Helen Cecilia Burke, was an actress and singer with a radio vocal group called the Sunshine Sisters. She later became a high school drama teacher and instilled a love for performing in her children. Travolta spent a lot of time at home acting, singing, and telling stories. He and his siblings, Joey, Ellen, Margaret, and Sam, grew up in a home where playing different roles was normal. Their mother pushed them all to become artists, and many of them did. Joey became a movie star and actor. Ellen appeared on TV with John, and the whole family loved entertainment, which made their home the perfect place for a future star to grow up. Travolta's family would play different roles for fun, which he said sparked his love for acting. This competitive spirit shaped how he saw acting as more than a dream. It was something he could pursue. By the time he was a teenager, Travolta knew exactly what he wanted to do. He went to Dwight Merrow High School in Englewood, but acting, singing, and dancing were all he cared about. At 16, he made a decision that would change the rest of his life. He quit school to pursue acting full-time. It was a giant risk, but he was ready to take it. He moved to New York City and started training seriously there. He took voice, dance, and drama classes while trying out for parts. There were many young artists in New York with the same dream as Travolta, but he didn't give up. He admired actors who could act, sing, and dance, and he put in significant effort to hone that talent. His first significant experience occurred at the summer stock. He participated in Bye Bye Birdie, a relatively small production, which provided him with valuable learning and growth opportunities. Shortly after, he joined the touring company of Grease. He held this position for a few years before assuming the character of Danny Zoe in the film, a move that boosted his recognition and self-assurance. In New York, he continued to land small roles in musicals and regional theater. The jobs weren't exciting, but they helped him learn the business. At age 18, he was showing himself one role at a time. Travolta got his big break when he made his Broadway debut. Richard and Robert Sherman composed the music for Over Here, a musical set during World War II. Disney Classics' famous songwriting duo opened the show at the Shubert Theater on March 6, 1974, and it ran for 341 performances, making it one of Broadway's biggest hits that season. Travolta shared a supporting role on stage alongside Patty and Maxine Andrews of the Andrews Sisters. His performance included the song Dream Drummond, which gave him a chance to show off his voice and stage presence. The musical wasn't just for fun, it dealt with serious issues like racism and war while giving audiences catchy songs and energetic performances. John Travolta first became famous on the sitcom Welcome Back, Kotter, which ran from 1975 to 1979. He played Vinnie Barbarino, a cocky but likable high school troublemaker who led a group of outcasts known as the Sweat Hogs, characterized by his confidence and memorable catchphrases such as, "Up your nose with a rubber hose." This role quickly established Travolta as a prominent star. The series was not merely a comedy, it addressed significant issues faced by inner-city schools while simultaneously engaging its audience. Initially, some stations were reluctant to broadcast it due to problems in inner-city schools while keeping viewers entertained. Some stations initially refused to air it, fearing students would imitate the Sweat Hog. But the show became a giant hit, and Travolta was its biggest star, even with all the attention from Welcome Back, Kotter. Travolta wanted to show that he could do more than comedy, so in 1976, he starred in The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, a drama based on real children born with weak immune systems. He played Todd Lubbock, a teenager who had to live in a sterile setting to stay alive. The movie showed how challenging it was for him to live a normal life despite his condition. When Todd left his safe bubble and risked everything to feel alive, that was one of the most powerful parts of the movie, Travolta's emotional and real performance, demonstrating his seriousness as an actor. The movie came out on November 12, 1976, and earned 4 Emmy nominations. His co-star Diana Hyland won one posthumously after dying of cancer in 1977. Hollywood took notice. Producer Robert Stigwood believed Travolta had big screen potential. In 1977, Travolta starred in Saturday Night Fever, a movie that became a cultural phenomenon. He played Tony Manero, a young man from Brooklyn who felt trapped in his working-class life but found freedom on the dance floor. The story was about more than just disco, it was about dreams, struggles, and the need to escape. He wore an iconic white suit for the role. Terrio choreographed his dance moves, inspiring people worldwide. The Saturday Night Fever soundtrack featured popular Bee Gees songs like Staying Alive. Hits like Staying Alive and Night Fever were number 1 on the Billboard charts for 24 weeks and became one of the best-selling albums of all time. The movie, which cost $3.5 million to make, made $237 million worldwide. At just 24 years old, Travolta's outstanding performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. The next year, he played another legendary part. Daniel Zucco returned to Greece, playing a high school greaser in a 1950s set love story. Olivia Newton-John played Sandy Olsen in the movie, which was based on a Broadway musical, on June 16, 1978. It was the highest-grossing show at the time, making $3,963 billion on a budget of $6 million. Their song, You're the One I Want, was electric. Travolta and Newton-John were a perfect match. The single sold more copies than any other in that year. The soundtrack, which included hits like Summer Nights and Greased Lightning, was second only to Saturday Night Fever in terms of sales. Grease was a big hit at the box office, but it also had a lasting effect on pop culture. It brought back 1950s fashion trends, inspired many high school plays, and remained a favorite for generations. The National Film Registry selected the film in 2020 due to its significant cultural impact. At this point, Travolta was one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but he didn't stay in the world of disco and musicals. He tried something new with Urban Cowboy. Travolta played Bud Davis, a worker at a Texas oil refinery who felt stuck between city life and country traditions in the 1980 movie based on a true story. Houston's famous Gilley's Club, where mechanical bull riding was a big deal, served as the filming location for the movie. The movie showed a different side of Travolta. His performance captured Bud's struggles with love and identity in a world that was changing quickly. One of the most famous scenes in the movie was when Deborah Winger, who played Bud's love interest, rode a mechanical bull without a stunt double. The scene became legendary. Urban Cowboy made $53 million at the box office on a budget of $10 million. It also had a lasting impact on culture. Western fashion became very popular, and country music became very popular. Some people saw the Urban Cowboy movement as a look back at American ideals. Even though some people thought it was just a fad, Travolta was once again at the center of a big cultural shift. John Travolta was one of the biggest stars in the world in the late 1970s. In 1977, Saturday Night Fever made him a culture icon, and in 1978, Grease made him a real superstar. He was young, charming, and at the top of Hollywood, but success in film can vanish as fast as it comes. In the 1980s, Travolta made many bad decisions, and audiences' tastes changed, which put him out of the spotlight. By the end of the decade, he wasn't as popular at the box office as he used to be. The trouble started in 1981 with the thriller Blowout, directed by Brian De Palma. Critics praised both the movie and Travolta's performance, but it didn't do well at the box office. Good reviews don't always lead to more sales. The movie didn't do well at the box office, making only $13.8 million against an $18 million budget. For an actor who was riding high on the success of 2 straight hits, the loss was a wake-up call. He then made Two of a Kind, a romantic comedy with Olivia Newton-John, in 1983, which seemed like a smart move on paper. Grease was a big part of their success because of how well they got along, but Two of a Kind lacked that magic. The story felt forced, and reviewers ripped it apart. It only made $23.6 million, which isn't enough to call it a success. He needed a hit to show that he was still a main man, but his next movie made things worse. Perfect came out in 1985, a drama about the aerobics craze starring Jamie Lee Curtis. It was meant to capture the energy of the fitness movement that was everywhere in the 80s. Instead, it felt outdated as soon as it hit theaters. Critics called it shallow and awkward. Audiences weren't interested. It made only $12.9 million at the box office. At this point, Travolta was no longer a sure thing. His films weren't just underperforming, they were being ridiculed. The box office failures were bad enough, but his personal life made this period even harder. In 1977, his girlfriend Diana Hyland passed away from breast cancer. She was 41 years old. They had met while filming The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, and Travolta later said, "She was the love of his life." Losing her devastated him. He tried to move forward with his career, but Hollywood was changing fast. The musical and dank-driven films that made him a star were no longer in demand. New actors were taking over. He was struggling to adapt. To make matters worse, he turned down roles that could have saved his career. In 1980, he was originally cast as Julian Kay in American Gigolo, but he dropped out. Richard Gere took the role and the film became a major hit. 2 years later, he was given An Officer and a Gentleman, but he turned it down again. That movie made over $190 million and made him a Hollywood star. In 1990, Travolta even tried out for the role of Pretty Woman, but Gere got the part instead. By the late 1980s, it was clear that every time Travolta left a project, someone else made it a hit. Hollywood no longer saw him as a bankable star. He was still working, but he wasn't in demand. The industry nicknamed actors like him. It was a harsh label, but many people liked it. His name no longer guaranteed ticket sales, and his movies weren't making an impact. Then came Look Who's Talking, in 1989, a comedy about a talking baby that made over $297 million worldwide. It didn't make money, but it wasn't a return either. The baby, not Travolta, was the real star of the movie. It made him famous, but it didn't make him trustworthy again. Hollywood wasn't sure he could carry a movie like he used to. That didn't change until 1994, when a young director named Quentin Tarantino gave him another chance. The release of Pulp Fiction in 1994 was an unexpected phenomenon. It emerged as a significant event that caught many by surprise. When Quentin Tarantino cast John Travolta as Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction in 1994, he was taking a giant risk. Travolta's career was in serious decline. He was a top star in the late 1970s with Saturday Night Fever and Grease, but after a string of 1980s flops, big studios lost interest, and his movies went straight to video. Michael Madsen, who played Vincent Vega in Reservoir Dogs in 1992, was first in line to play the part. When Madsen turned it down to being in Wyatt, Tarantino had to look elsewhere. At that point, Tarantino decided to hire Travolta instead of offering him a high salary. There was an offer of a lower rate of $100,000 to $140,000 for Travolta. It was a low price for a big actor, but it was Travolta's chance to restart his career. Many people didn't think Travolta was as talented as he was. Tarantino was disappointed by some of Travolta's recent performances, as they didn't show his true talent. But Pulp Fiction changed everything. With long hair and a black suit, Travolta became Vincent Vega. He gave the character a cool but unpredictable energy, and his chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson and Uma Thurman made the movie unforgettable. The now iconic dance scene with Thurman set to Chuck Berry's "You Never Can Tell" became one of the most famous moments in movie history. Pulp Fiction made over $200 million worldwide and won the Palme Award. For Travolta, the success was even bigger. He was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor, which was his first Oscar nomination since Saturday Night Fever in 1977. Additionally, he received a Golden Globe nomination. Suddenly, he was in high demand, and he used the recognition to rebuild his career. He won a Golden Globe for Get Shorty in 1995. In Face Off, he played both the hero and the villain opposite Nicolas Cage in one of the most successful action movies of the decade. In Primary Colors, he played a charming Southern governor who was clearly based on Bill Clinton. For a while, it seemed like Travolta could do no wrong. Then came Battlefield Earth. He had been a dedicated Scientologist for years, and he saw Battlefield Earth as his passion project. It was based on a 1982 novel by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Travolta co-produced and starred in Battlefield Earth, putting millions of dollars of his money into the $73 million budget. He thought it would be a hit and planned a two-part series, but it wasn't. The story was confusing, and the special effects looked cheap. The movie was almost impossible to watch because of the over-the-top acting and strangely tilted camera views. Critics ripped it apart. People agreed with the New York Times that it was the worst movie of this century. It bombed at the box office, making only $29.7 million globally, a small portion of what it cost to make. Things didn't end well there. In 2010, the movie was named Worst Picture of the Decade and won 8 Golden Raspberry Awards, including Worst Picture and Worst Star for Travolta. Franchise Pictures, the company involved in the movie's production, faced a fraud lawsuit, intensifying the controversy surrounding it. A lawsuit showed that the company lied about the budget, adding $31 million to the total cost. As a result, Franchise Pictures went out of business. Travolta's reputation took a serious hit despite everything. He kept working. He had some successes like Swordfish in 2001 and Hairspray in 2007, but he never fully regained the A-list status that Pulp Fiction had given him, and just when it seemed like he had moved past his worst career choices, more controversies followed. In 2012, Travolta was hit with a series of sexual assault allegations too. Male Mowers filed lawsuits claiming he had made unwanted advances during massage sessions. The first accuser said the incident happened at the Beverly Hills Hilton on January 16, but Travolta's lawyers quickly proved he had been in New York at the time. The second lawsuit came from a Moor in Atlanta who claimed something similar happened on January 28. Both cases were dismissed due to a lack of evidence, even though he was never charged with anything. The damage was done. The accusations fueled long-standing rumors about Travolta's private life. At one point, a lawyer claimed that over 100 men had come forward with similar allegations, though no solid evidence was ever presented. Travolta's lawyers said the claims were ridiculous and said the people who were suing were just trying to get money off of his fame. There had been trouble in Travolta's personal life before. In 1997, pictures of him at a private party dressed as a drag queen were published by the National Enquirer. He was wearing a white dress, earrings, makeup, and a blonde wig. The pictures caused a media frenzy, and it was said that his wife Kelly Preston was embarrassed and that the pictures were making their marriage tense. Travolta never talked about the pictures in public, and while some people thought the scandal was just tabloid nonsense, others saw it as part of a pattern of stories that had been going around about him for years. Kelly and John Travolta met while filming The Experts in 1987. Preston, who was already married to actor Kevin Gage, revealed her dissatisfaction with her marriage. Meeting Travolta changed everything for Travolta. It was love at first sight during their screen test, and he fell in love with her right away. After divorcing Gage in 1987, Preston had a few high-profile relationships. After living briefly with George Clooney, Preston engaged Charlie Sheen, who proposed with a 25-carat diamond ring. However, despite the big gesture, their relationship didn't last, and by 1990, she was single again. That's when she and Travolta reconnected, and this time nothing stood in their way on screen. The Experts was a failure. Even though it cost $13 million to make, it only made $169,200 at the box office. But for Travolta and Preston, the movie changed their lives because it brought them together at the right time and started one of Hollywood's longest love stories. Travolta's proposal was just as dramatic as any movie he starred in. On December 31, 1990. During a romantic trip to Cat, Switzerland, he planned a moment Preston would never forget. At midnight inside the luxurious Palace Hotel, he got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. She was so surprised that she screamed. The timing and location made everything more special. Snow covered the mountains outside. The New Year's Eve celebration was in full swing, and in that magical moment Travolta slipped a 6-carat yellow and white diamond ring onto Preston's finger. Soon after, she gushed about their engagement. In an interview, she even joked that they were already practicing for parenthood. Their wedding didn't go exactly as planned. On September 5, 1991, they had an elegant ceremony at the Hôtel de Crown in Paris. A Scientology minister officiated, as both were devoted members of the Church of Scientology. But after the celebration, they discovered that the marriage wasn't legally recognized in the United States. To fix the issue, they had a second wedding just 1 week later on September 12. This time it was a simple courthouse ceremony in Daytona Beach, Florida. Despite the legal complication, their love never wavered. They considered their Paris wedding their real ceremony. From that point on, they faced every challenge together, including the joys and heartbreaks of raising a family. Over the next 2 decades, they welcomed 3 children. Their first son, Jet, was born in 1992. 8 years later, their daughter Ella Blue arrived in 2000. In 2010, they had their youngest son, Benjamin. Parenthood brought them happiness, but it also brought unimaginable pain. Jet Travolta had health problems from a young age. When he was 2, he was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease, a rare condition that makes blood vessels swell. While this isn't usually linked to seizures, Jet had seizures often. Every 5 to 10 days, he would have a seizure that could last up to a minute. Later, it was found that Jet had autism for most of his life, but his family kept this a secret. Some people think that the fact that the Church of Scientology doesn't officially accept autism is why they don't talk about it in public. Preston later shared her own ideas about Jet's condition. She thought that Jet's condition might have been caused by breastfeeding with antibiotics and exposure to household chemicals. Travolta and Preston did everything they could to care for Jet. Their love for him was clear. But their decision to keep his diagnosis private caused controversy. Some thought they should have used their fame to raise awareness, while others said their family deserved privacy. On January 2, 2009, Jet had a seizure and fell in the bathroom, hitting his head on the tub. He was only 16 years old. The official cause of death was listed as a seizure, but no other injuries were found. In a statement, Travolta and Preston said that Jet was the best son that any parents could ask for. His funeral followed Scientology traditions, which emphasize spiritual immortality and the belief that the soul lives on. Losing Jet changed everything. Travolta later discussed his grief and how it changed how he saw his family. Just when they believed the worst was over, Travolta faced an extortion attempt. 2 people, a former senator from the Bahamas and a fireman, said they would reveal private information about Jet's death if Travolta didn't pay them $25 million. They said they had details that could make Travolta look careless. The trial happened in 2009, but it ended in a mistrial when a Bahamian politician mistakenly announced an acquittal before the jury had finished deliberating. They planned a new trial, but it never took place. Travolta requested the case's dismissal in September 2010 to spare his family further suffering. Many opposed the extortion plan, thinking it cruel to exploit Travolta's grieving father. It was also another reminder of how painful life in the spotlight could be. In 2018, doctors told Kelly Preston she had breast cancer, but she chose to keep it a secret for 2 years. She went through treatment in secret while still working, and many of her co-workers didn't even know. She took this action to shield her family and career from the potential attention that would arise from making the news public. Later, her co-star Sally Phillips said that Preston worried about her insurance and job prospects if people knew she was sick. Other actors, like Chadwick Boseman and Helen McCrory, had made similar decisions at the same time. During this time, she played her last movie role in Off the Rails, which was about a girl who follows her mother's dream of traveling across Europe after her death from cancer. No one on set knew, but it was a heartbreaking parallel to Preston's real life. She gave a powerful performance without letting her personal struggles show, which was a sign of how strong she was. On July 12, 2020, Preston died at the age of 57. Fans around the world were shocked by the news. John Travolta, her husband, announced it on Instagram, calling her battle brave and thanking the medical staff at MD Anderson Cancer Center for their care. Their daughter Ella Blue, who was 20 at the time, also wrote a tribute, calling her mother the bravest and most loving person she had ever known. A year later, on July 23, 2021, Off the Rails came out in the UK and Ireland. It was more than just a movie, it was a tribute to Preston's talent and spirit. She starred with Sally Phillips. Jenny Seagrove and Judi Dench make a movie about friendship and loss feel warm and funny. When Travolta shared the trailer on social media, he talked about how important the project was to his wife and how knowing what she was going through while shooting made her performance even stronger. There are many ways that Travolta has kept her memory alive. On Mother's Day in May 2021, he shared a note thanking her for giving him 3 wonderful children. Benjamin and their late son Jet, who passed away at the age of 16, also shared unreleased family videos that captured their happiest moments. In an interview with Esquire España, he discussed how warm Preston was, how much she laughed, and how much love there was in their family. Travolta discussed grief in a way that many people could relate to. He said that grief is a personal journey that is different for everyone. He prioritized helping his children before confronting his heartbreak. One of the hardest